Action. Welcome to Movie News on this late March here. We got a nice agenda on tap. We want to review the Oscars.
Finally,
who did well, who didn't do well, and if there's any sort of shock picks, all that good stuff. And then we got a couple other topics that we'll discuss. So let's get right into it, Pete. Actually, let's start. I have a different on the list, but let's start with Oscars.
let's start with them.
Let's start with them. What would you say? What was your biggest takeaway from the Oscar? How about that?
The biggest takeaway was that it went as expected, with the exception of maybe two categories where I thought that there was a bit of a really, but it's kind of hard to argue. I think it was pretty standard. I'm not a huge fan of Jimmy Kimmel's comedy, even though he's a funny dude. Like, his bits and his show is very funny. But I thought that there was, I can nitpick this thing very easily. So I don't know where you want to go with this, because I can tell you what I thought was wrong with it.
What do you mean? Like the show or?
No. In terms of categories.
Yeah, let's do that. I'll talk and then we'll go into that.
Please.
Yeah, I didn't watch the show. I was out of town for business. I don't typically watch the show anyway.
I love the show.
Only because, I mean, you kind of said it. I haven't been a huge fan of the show itself, and just sometimes it gets a little too political, or you hear these speeches.
The problem this year is that the opening scene was, that scene in Barbie where Margot Robbie's sitting next to that old woman at the bus stop, and she's like, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful," and the old woman's like, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah.
They did this thing at the very beginning where Jimmy Kimmel was the person sitting next to Barbie in that scene, and it was funny, and it brought you into this spot where you're like, okay, this is where we're going with the Oscars, and it never happened ever again. If he done bits throughout like that, like Billy Crystal is.
I was just about to say Billy Crystal used to do that. Yeah.
Steve
And I
Martin,
like those. Those are fun jokes.
Yeah, and Steve Martin's classic when it comes to that kind of. But it was really just, let me just announce some stuff and say some jokes that are arguably funny or not. But that would have been the route that I would have taken.
Yeah. I mean, overall, it did get good reviews. A lot of people.
It was good.
We're pretty happy with it. So, despite our opinion, I do know it was considered a success on many accounts. So
I think not because of Jimmy Kimmel.
No, he got good praise from other people.
But there are things that happened in this ceremony that were next level awesome.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead and get into what you said. You had something you wanted to discuss. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, in terms of unexpected winners, let's start with the winners.
Yeah. Let's do biggest surprises.
Biggest surprises. I think that it was pretty spot on. I thought that even though it was deserved, I thought it was a bit of a shock that Emma Stone won for Best Actress. I thought they really would have just given it to Lily Gladstone because she won basically everything up until now. I think even Emma Stone, to her credit, was shocked that she even won this award. I don't think she wanted to win this award, to be honest. I thought that we were in a place in Hollywood where, giving it to somebody deserving, not because of sympathy or whatever, but giving it to somebody like Lily Gladstone, I thought really would have impacted cinema in such a positive way that I feel like the Academy just blew it on that. I thought that the positivity, and again, rightfully so, the positivity of saying Lily Gladstone was the best actress this year, I thought completely outweighed giving Emma Stone her second Oscar of the year of her career. I thought that was a big mistake. But again, you can't argue the fact that she won because her performance in Poor Things was really well. And the other one, I only have two. That was one. The other one was Best Sound. I didn't see Zone of Interest, but how does that beat Oppenheimer or Mission
Yeah.
Impossible for Best Sound? Like, I don't understand how that even happened. And
Yeah.
maybe you saw Zone of Interest. Maybe you can explain why the sound in that movie was so fab.
I mean, basically because they recreated concentration camp sounds, so you never see the concentration camp. So it's all done through audio, and obviously it's not happening there. So it, but to me, it's
That's interesting.
I, yeah, but I would still agree with you. I still wouldn't have given
Mission,
it best
Better
sound.
than Mission Impossible and Oppenheimer. I
No,
mean,
Oppenheimer should have won it. I
because
mean,
the Oppenheimer
Oppenheimer
sound.
had such an immense sound track in general, and the sound was played such a. I mean, the sound played a critical role in that film. I mean, you could argue the background sound was the most interesting part of the movie, but that's also another problem with the movie. Um, yeah, I mean, I take issue with anything with that movie just because that's probably my least favorite movie of the year.
Right.
I thought it was just paced poorly, and I just don't get the hype. I don't get the hype. It's an interesting concept that I think is horribly done. And this director, that is his style. And again, some people like that, but I think for most people, they will not like it. And but that's maybe that's who he wants to be. But and
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it soon.
yeah,
Um,
and I'm with
mhm.
you. I'm with you on the. I mean, Emma Stone obviously was deserving of the nomination, but I do think Lily Gladstone,
It was an opportunity.
yeah, I mean, she really stole the screen in that movie, in a movie with huge stars in it, and
And which you didn't even care about. Like she
yeah,
was the only one that you cared about. I mean, to be honest, she carried that film.
yeah, 100%. Um, those yeah, I would say that was my biggest snub, and then and honestly, I mean, good job for the boy and the heron. I do think that was a. I wouldn't know. I don't know if I'd caught an upset because that was a really well received film. But the fact that it beat Spider-Man, though, I mean, that's just. I think it's just a huge accomplishment, really, because that's it's anime,
Right.
and so I think I don't want to call it an upset, but it's a slight surprise just because the Spider-Man was so well received and did so well. So I mean,
And
good
in
job.
animation, being in this world, to have anime being acknowledged at this level is significant.
Yeah,
Um, but again, if you're gonna acknowledge the significance of an anime film, why wouldn't you also acknowledge a Native American actress who carried a fucking 3.5 hour movie?
yeah,
Like, what are you doing? Like, why would you do it there but not do it there? I mean, there was
yeah.
there was real accomplishment that happened in cinema this year, and I felt the Academy just fell short in terms of the acknowledgement. I mean, it was correct 95% of the
Yeah,
category, but the
yeah,
5% was very important. It was
yeah,
really important.
yeah. Overall, I think they did a good job. Like I'm staring at the list, and it's like
Yeah,
good, like good job.
yeah.
And um, one of my favorite ones that got it that I'm glad it did was Godzilla minus one for best visual effects. That was one of my favorite ones because that wasn't like a gimme by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm really happy that that one got it, and that one's getting the praise. I believe was it Christopher Nolan or some big time director gave Godzilla minus one its props, and I saw that and I was blown away. And
So good.
that it's one of the best Godzilla movies.
And best documentary, 22 Days in Maripol, who our family friend was a part of that. He won an Oscar.
Yeah, Cliff.
And Cliff de Cattrall, and I just met with him the other day, and we were having a coffee, and we were talking about it, and that the speech that was given by the director, the Ukrainian director, was so powerful, um, that it almost brought you to tears, and I did shed a tear because I started watching this documentary, and I got about 20 minutes in, I'd already seen a 4-year-old get killed, a 16-year-old get killed, and I'm like,
Is it
seven.
available right now?
It's available if you have streaming means. You're part of groups like I am, Paul.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a powerful documentary, and it really does
22,
showcase.
22 days in Mariupol.
Yeah, it really does showcase the importance of what this director did, and I'm glad that he won, and his speech was so powerful. Um, Now, the positives of the actual ceremony itself, I mean, there were several. One was Billie Eilish's performance of her song, her award-winning song for Barbie. I thought that what she did was the most amazing performance I've ever seen in an Oscar performance. Um, the style in which she sang, that breathy sort of style, is so difficult. I don't even think people understand. Go talk to any vocal coach in the world. What she was able to accomplish with her voice during that entire sequence was next to a miracle. It was gorgeous, and the song was powerful, and it really did bring me into a place of acceptance of whatever was going to happen next. I'm okay with it because she brought you into this world. Her performance was by far my favorite part. I'm Just Ken was amazing, obviously, right? Because it's just that's what you want the Oscars to be. You want it to be the celebration of a song, and then you bring Slash out to start doing some guitars, and he's interacting with the crowd. It was fantastic. I thought that Christopher Nolan's speech was really poignant. The fact that he's like, cinema is only 100 years old. You think that, what was accomplished and what is going to be accomplished in the next 100 years. And to think that you think that I'm a meaningful part of it just means the world to me. I thought just crushed me at my core. That at that status, he was still just appreciative of the acknowledgement. These were really, really good little moments in this broadcast.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to give a shout out again, just happy that this happened, was both Anatomy of the Fall and American Fiction. One for original. Anatomy of the Fall was original screenplay. American Fiction, best adapted screenplay. I did think those were great scripts, and I'm happy both of those won. So
Yeah, I was happy to see Lou Diamond Phillips in the audience too. They showed Lou Diamond Phillips for like a second, and I'm like, dude, there he is.
nice.
Chavez Chavez.
Hopefully,
And by
with
the way, what the hell's going on with Al Pacino? Like, I don't know if that was scripted or not, but he might be we might be witnessing the end. I don't know.
no,
Like there was
I just saw him in Knox Goes Away. I mean, he's still fine. I think I overheard somebody say, it's important to realize that he was there at the end and it's 3 hours in an open bar, and that
I
that,
don't care. I
that
don't
might have
care.
affected his performance. So
I don't understand what he was doing.
yeah. Yeah, I heard the producers too kind of were like, hey, all right, let's wrap this up. I've heard a rumor of that. So I don't.
Yeah, so because that was my big question. Why didn't you list the nominees? Because he was just like, "Ah, all right, and then he's like, here's the winner. And you're like,
I've heard they've already been doing that the whole night. So you don't need to rehash it again because we already know who the nominees are.
dude, they had like for actor, actress, supporting, and actor and actress, they had 5 different individual
I
previous
get it. I get it.
come out, give a speech, and then they give the thing. And you don't have the time to give us at least the nominations of the best pictures of the year. Then cut out all that other bullshit so that we can at
Yeah, no,
least
I would
get
agree with
the
that.
nomination,
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I
right?
agree. I don't. I think. Well, one, I don't think he should have been the guy.
No.
Um, and I think it should have been someone like Spielberg or Martin
Sure.
Scorsese. Oh no, it's because he's nominated. But let's just say Spielberg
Right.
and have him do it. But anyways, next Heat 2 is confirmed by Michael Mann. Pete, uh, what I've heard it's gonna be kind of like a prequel and then hop back and forth. From what I read, what what would you do with a Heat 2?
Well, I mean, that's an out of left field question, Paul.
Well,
Uh,
we're hard hitting here at the Action Podcast, Pete.
yeah, no, I mean, because you got to look at Heat 1. as like in its totality, right? Like, I mean, you can certainly see the brilliance in the first Heat, but boy, does it have mixed reviews. Like some people either really just hate it or they really love it. You never really meet somebody who has seen Heat and been like, yeah, it's okay. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? They either just like were like, oh my God, this is one of the best movies that I've ever seen, or they're like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever
Yeah.
seen in my life. Um, I mean, because you are now dealing with two main characters who are in their 80s
Yeah.
plus, like really old,
And one of
and
them dead. Didn't De Niro died in that movie? The first one?
possibly.
I thought Pacino shot
It's
him
been
at the
so
end.
long since I've seen this film.
Yeah.
I remember being impacted incredibly positively by this film. I remember
Yeah.
loving this film. I just never really got around to going and seeing it a second and a third time because of, there's a billion movies out there.
Yeah.
Uh, but Val Kilmer is no longer able to be a part of a film like this. I think he dies too in the movie.
Yeah.
Uh,
He gets shot at the
if
bank.
I were to make it Heat 2, I would really do a because Pacino and De Niro seem to have had a prior relationship
Yeah.
in Heat. That's where my focus would be. I would focus on how they grew up and how they interacted and how they came to know each other
Yeah.
and have it lead up into the events that we saw in Heat. Um,
Yeah, same. I mean, I almost wouldn't include them in this film.
that's without thinking. Like I haven't even thought about
Yeah.
what I do in a sequel or a prequel. But that's how I would approach it immediately, and then start a conversation with the development team on
Yeah.
what it is that we want to accomplish. But that would be amazing.
Yeah, I would agree. I would want to see. I would definitely go prequel route, because I don't really see a sequel. Again, not this late too. Like
No,
it,
a sequel would be a new cast.
yeah. So
However, it's very Godfather, very, very Mafia, the way those two know each other and yet they're rivals, right? They're at opposite ends of the spectrum. You see it in like The Departed, you see it in a lot of gangster movies with law enforcement. A lot of them grow up together. So there's
yeah,
a huge potential for a relationship and building up that whole thing in order to get to a movie that we've already seen. And that's
yeah,
where
yeah. I agree with that. Next we have Bad Boys 4, also just wrapped, and I'm curious where they're gonna go with this one. I thought what made the last one so successful was one that time had passed, and so they're dealing with actual relevant things that you would 30 years later, which is retirement and mortality and kind of dealing with that next phase of your life. And so um what I think you could do in this one is definitely make it kind of personal. I'd almost go kind of the route they did with the Bad Boys 2, where kind of a case that goes awry with a family member, and then it kind of becomes personal, and then you got to kind of gear up to kind of do a final thing.
yeah,
So I would kind of almost,
for the kids at this point.
yeah, I would kind of go that route again with this, and hopefully that's the case, because and then bring in some solid cast members, like new cast members, because that's what I liked about the last one is they brought in Henry Rollins was like one of the guys.
Is Joey Pants still with us?
No, he died in the last one.
He passed. No, no, I'm not talking about the movie, but like in real life.
Yeah, he's still alive, but
Joey Pants is still alive. Okay, good.
he's
Yeah.
dead in the movie though.
Well, no, I agree. I think that I mean, look, you bring these two together for a Bad Boys, it's going to be amazing. Either way. I think you're right, and I agree with it. I mean, the key to this one is going to be who you're going to bring in secondarily. Like, who are those like little side pieces that are really going to
Well,
elevate?
they're bringing back, remember that little crew that they had?
Yeah,
So they're bringing back that crew. So Vanessa Hudgens, Alexander Ludwig, uh,
good.
I think Eric Dane was part of that. I'm not sure, but so they'll I think they're also going to focus on that new group,
I
and
would
then
even bring Joey Pants back as like a ghost who's like talking, and it's just because Joey Pants is so good. How
he
do
is.
we
I mean,
how do we evolve him in the movie, even if it's ridiculous? Just bring his ghost back.
yeah, okay, good job on that one.
Come
All
on.
right, next, uh, Adam Sandler was the highest paid actor of 2023. Uh, I, that caught me off guard a little bit. I knew he was obviously well compensated, but man, his Netflix deal is solid. 73 million, I
Uh,
think, was the number.
his Netflix deal is next level.
And that's acting, by the way. That's not producing, that's not anything. So I don't I'm assuming they don't include that. Um, do you agree with that? Or who do you think should be the quote unquote highest paid actor of 2023?
Well, I mean, that's tough because yes, having an Adam Sandler in your pocket is good. Depends on what you're doing with him because no offense, Spaceman was a great performance by Adam Sandler. It just wasn't a movie that I'm willing to pay somebody $73 million to do. They could have gotten any up and coming actor to do that and saved a ton of money to rewrite the script completely, and not included a big giant spider. But whatever, it doesn't matter. I would make the investment. However, I would really just put it in his court to create the content. Um, because he seems to make content that people just are attracted to.
Yeah.
Everything down the line that he's ever done, starting with Happy Gilmore, or starting with Billy Madison, there's been an immense amount of reception to what it is that he's doing. Even if the majority of people don't understand what he's doing and don't care and think it's stupid, he still generates a massive amount of
Yeah.
popularity and money. Um, I think that you have to if you're going to bring in an Adam Sandler, you have to let him go. And you have to let him do what he wants to do. I don't think that Adam Sandler would have made Spaceman the way it came out. I just don't think he would have done that. He's too smart. He's
Yeah,
too
I agree.
smart of a filmmaker. He's too smart of an actor, even though his performance was really awesome. I really thought he did a great job. Um, because how do you play somebody who's isolated for 6 months in space,
Yeah.
who's dealing with something going down on Earth with his wife? I thought that he did a great job. Again, I don't think that he would have put out that film the way it is currently put out if he would have done it. Um,
Yeah. Like I'm looking at the list and I I agree with you, like his value is different than other actors because he is the original Netflix original movie guy. And so I think he has a large value, especially we don't know the metrics on his overseas market and what he brings in overseas. And so that's a big draw for some people.
Sure.
And so a lot of their subscription may be because of his films. And I don't know, again, I don't have the metrics on those, but I'm looking at, there was one year where somebody had like three top 10 movie hits. This year, it's not really like that. I mean, you would have, Tom Cruise for Mission Impossible,
but
um, Timothy Chalamet for Wonka, but you see, you can't include Dune 2. If Dune 2 was there, I would vote for Timothy Chalamet might be the top guy for the year. But now it's
right,
it's
there's no way Timothy Chalamet is going to Netflix right now.
no. But I'm just saying, like, who like basically who's the MVP is kind of where I'm
Right,
going with that.
right.
And then Oppenheimer's Cillian Murphy, he's just not that big of a star.
I mean, I've always said Nicolas Cage, who just put out a ton of great content this past
Yeah,
year.
yeah, but he's not going to make that kind of money that obviously
No,
Adam's.
he's not going to generate an Adam Sandler
But
number.
my ultimate point is there was not a lot of multiple films, huge films for a good guy. So, I can't really argue against Adam Sandler being the highest paid actor because it's he made a lot of content this year.
I,
Or
I
that
would I would certainly pay him the number. I just think in the deal making, I would have said, okay, look, we're going to pay you this money, but you're in charge of the content. You're in charge of the creative direction of the content. And I think that he would have done a better job as as somebody who was in control as
yeah,
opposed to somebody who was just being paid. I think there's a huge difference.
yeah,
And this is the way of the world, unfortunately, right now. Like, people are grasping at straws, trying to bring in a name to put out content that maybe they've already created.
yeah.
Um, when you could take some no-name people and just really make some great stuff, which you've seen. Um, it's out there. It's just like who's willing to do it and who's not. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. And then our last story, and this actually just came out like today, but Neverending Story has been a long time property that has never been remade, definitely in modern era. And this was made, the original was what, 84, I believe.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
gee,
And we did
it's
a podcast on
been
it,
a
right?
minute. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you haven't,
No,
have we not done
I think we ever did Neverending Story,
I don't
although
know.
we
We did Princess Bride. I was getting that mixed up. So
no,
this
we
is I think this is a big time property. I think, the first film it was not a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination. And so I think
oh,
there's a lot of room. I think there's a lot of room for that film to be improved upon with modern filmmaking.
and it's not Jonathan Brandis version. This is like the original
Yeah.
OG
Yeah.
version. Oh,
I think
please.
you can literally do just a pure remake. I don't think you need to obviously just update it with what you can do physically. But, my key would be don't go so crazy with the CGI because the original one was done like don't do what Star Wars did.
It was very practical.
Yeah, so don't like still make it practical, but then, still make use the better
Right.
that are available.
I would also, the way that Wonka was recreated with Timothy Chalamet. I mean, we talked about it in our podcast how there was a respect given to an original when they were doing a film, and don't fall into that trap of the in between Wonka, the Johnny Depp version, where they're like, well, we're going to be much more akin to the book, right? Like, Neverending Story is a book. It's a real book.
Yeah.
I just hope somebody who's making the remake doesn't go, I'm going to make this perfect towards the book and more accurate, as opposed to what is going to be not only the best thing for the screen, but also respectful to the original, which is why we're even talking about a remake of Neverending Story in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's going to just do this just because. Like, there's a reason for it. So don't lose sight of what the ultimate goal is, because the look at what Wonka drew.
Yeah.
It drew a ton of cash.
Yeah.
So if you do it properly, there's a much more of a return in terms of business than it is to just try and to
Yeah,
do.
because I think it's got a lot of worldwide potential because
It's more accurate.
especially when you're dealing with fantasy, it's got a nice like again I like how we Damsel, which is on Netflix now. I like how that was done. And if you can kind of emulate a lot of similarities in terms of the filmmaking, I think that would look great with the Neverending.
Damsel wasn't bad.
Yeah, they had very good visual effects on that one. Shout out. Awesome. Let's talk about real quickly box office because there's a couple, I think, some case studies out. We're talking about budget and things of that nature.
Yeah,
Uh, right now, Kung Fu Panda 4 is tops in the box office with 30.1 million.
so
And
good.
that has made 179 million worldwide on 85 budget. So that's a very, very, very good successful film. And I think the key was the $85 million budget.
Well done indeed. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can do in this day and age, you can accomplish so much. I would argue you can do it for 15.
Sure, but they had a lot of big time voices, so I mean, I understand. But I think the key is DreamWorks versus Disney. Disney has been making these very bloated ones that didn't make anything close to this versus Kung Fu Panda. And we didn't see the originals.
Why? Why? Because they got away from what real storytelling was all about and putting
Yeah.
effort into setting things up.
Yeah. Dune Part 2 continues to reel in the money. It made 28.5 million. That's up to 506 worldwide on 190 budget, which the good news is
Million in a weekend.
yeah,
On like what, 10th week?
yeah. Good news is we'll be getting a third one. I'm almost guaranteed on that one.
Let's go.
Third is another new release, Arthur the King. That made 7.6 million, made 8 million worldwide on a $19 million budget. So
Right.
that's gonna be I don't know if that'll make its money. That one might be tough, but that was a good story. If you haven't seen that one, I recommend checking it out. Just a solid kind of family film. Next is Pete's favorite, Imaginary. That reeled in 5.6. And this is the problem, Pete. This one's has made 23 million worldwide on a $13 million budget. And this is, you know, you didn't like this film. A lot of people didn't like this.
They're gonna consider this a success on some
It's
level.
a success
It's really
because
bad. It's not good. It's not a good movie. But
yeah,
this is the formula right now of Hollywood. Like, what are people look at it at a release like this as a theatrical marketing tool in order to get it onto a platform where it's going to start getting views.
yeah,
People only look at views right now, and they're going to see, oh, it made $10 million worldwide. We got to get it on our platform, and they're going to pay a bunch of money for it. The movie's bad. It's just not
yeah,
good. Like even a
yeah,
little.
yeah. I did not see it, nor do I
I
plan
don't
to.
understand people.
Yeah. And then lastly, we have Cabrini that pulled in 2.8 million. It's made 13 million worldwide on a $50 million budget. That's not good. Um,
From what I heard, it's phenomenal.
it is. It's great, and I definitely recommend people to see it. Unfortunately, people have not seen it. I'm not sure if it's just hasn't been available or people just
It's
have.
in very limited release because I haven't seen it in a lot of places.
Yeah, yeah. So that's unfortunate, but again, it's a good story, and I think it'll have a good streaming views. But hopefully movies like that don't get stopped being made.
Me too.
Right, last section, and then we have upcoming movies to look forward to. This week coming out is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. That we've been looking for this one, and yeah, that one comes out, like I said, March 22nd.
Can't wait.
Next, the following week we have Godzilla and Kong, March 29. We'll see, man. Sometimes these movies, I'd like the first one. Then the Skull Island one was solid, but then the movies are like I didn't really like the last one so much because it's just so
It's
much.
definitely not my genre, and I will watch it with an open mind, but just
Yeah.
fasten your seatbelts.
The only good news is this one kind of takes place in a different world, and so that might make it better because there's oh so much destruction of Earth you can do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, we
So
did New York, we did LA. I don't know. What should we do? Boise?
I don't need to see another city destroyed.
Godzilla in Boise? Like, it's
Yeah.
just like, what are we gonna do?
And then April 5th, First Omen comes out, which Pete calls the scariest movie
Oh my
trailer.
gosh. The previews for this film and the little things that you see on the TikTok are absolutely frightening. The images themselves, and then if you watch the actual trailer, it looks like finally like it's something that is going to rip your soul out to its core and freak
Yep.
you out.
And,
Um,
and
I can
Omen's related to The Exorcist, right?
No.
There's no relation.
The Omen was a separate entity than the Exorcist franchise. Like they were two separate franchises.
I thought the kid for some reason was connected to.
No, they're separate. The Omen, but they've remade the Omen many times.
Yeah.
Less impactful than the original, but the original, you got to look at the context of the time in which it was released, like The Exorcist. When those two movies were released, it was like you didn't see movies like that. So yeah, it messed everybody up, like Jaws.
Oh,
Um,
Richard Donner. I didn't realize this. Richard Donner did
yeah,
the first.
yeah, and so you try to recreate that in today's society, it's very difficult. But this one, just the imagery alone, and the way they're telling the story in the trailer,
Oh,
I'm
I
gonna
was thinking of Damien.
right.
Damien are related.
No, Damien is the kid from The Omen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I knew there was a connection. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, so that
I can't wait. This is gonna make you shit.
yeah, that's
Oh,
April 5th. Also on April 5th is Monkey Man, which Jordan Peele is producing, but that one looks good. Dev Patel stars in that one.
give me Jordan Peele all the time. Just give
Yeah,
him,
that one looks kind of like a Tarantino-ish,
yeah.
like John Wick type of movie
Okay.
combination. So I'm excited that one. That one looks like it's got a lot of energy. And then the next one, I don't know how I feel about the next one, Civil War, that comes out April 12th. Alex Garland is the director.
I don't know
Uh,
a lot about it.
he's done Ex Machina, which I liked. But there's another one that I
Is this
didn't.
an A24 film?
I don't know, Pete. That's a really good question.
Because if it's, Ex Machina is A24. If this is an A24 film,
It is
I'm
A24.
okay with A24. I'm willing to go into it with an absolutely positive, open mind, because A24 only puts out like really good movies
That'd been good.
80% of the time.
Yeah. It's got a 7.6 so far.
Oof,
Uh,
nice.
it's only 226 votes, so
So what?
but I agree with you on the A24 part. But Alex Garland,
A24, I think, is like the last studio that just puts out great content no matter what.
yeah, he
I'm
did
over
an
Blumhouse, but I'm down with A24.
he did Annihilation, which I wanted to like, but it was just slow.
Fine. It was fine.
It was slow. So
Better
I'm
than
just hoping this movie's not slow. As
garbage
long as it's
movies.
not slow. But all right, well, that's gonna wrap it up here for movie news. We will keep doing these episodes when we have a bunch of new content coming in.
Oh, there's talks of Liam Neeson starring in a Naked Gun
Oh
reboot as
yes,
well.
yes,
That's interesting because we've sort of typecasted Liam Neeson. If he's going to be that ridiculous, comedic, oblivious role that Leslie Nielsen brought to the Naked Gun, if he can pull it off, it's going to be gold.
yeah. Because I mean, the good news is, it was dry humor, and I feel like he can do it. I mean, I feel
We've
like
seen it on Saturday Night Live. We've seen it in interviews. He's got a great timing for comedy.
yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to.
That's gonna be good.
So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up, guys. Thanks. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And with that, Pete, that is a cut. Thanks, guys.